Well, hey everybody, I am so excited because we're doing another author interview right here on facebook.com/k.m.robinson books. And today I am talking to author Karen Tomlinson. She is the author of A Bond of Venom and Magic, and I am so excited because she has quite a bit of world building within this story. I know you guys are going to be really excited to see this. Karen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Very warm. The weather's very warm in the UK, but we're all good. It's fine.
I'm so excited to have you here today. You and I have been talking for a while on Facebook. We've been Facebook friends for a while, but this is the first time we've actually talked in person.
It is, yeah, yeah. Nice to meet you. Hello.
It's nice to meet you in person too. If you are joining us live, we would love to hear from you. Go ahead and jump into those comments and let us know who you are and maybe where you're from, and if you've read Karen's books or not, and if you're excited to read them if you have not read them yet. Today, we're going to talk all about her book, A Bond of Venom and Magic. I'm super excited for this. We're going to learn some really cool stuff, maybe get a little behind the scenes. And if you have questions, now is a great time to ask because we will be taking your questions a little bit later on. If you are on our rebroadcast, we would love to hear from you too. We're going to be in the comments after the show is over. And so if you have questions, let us know now. And if you come up with a really good one that we did not touch on in the video here, we might just be able to drag Karen back for another video. So come up with the best questions possible. Let us know what you've got, and we would love to hear from you today. So Karen, before we jump in, before we do anything else, I want to hear a little bit about your story. So, what do we need to know about A Bond of Venom and Magic?
Ooh, well, you need to know that it's a fantasy romance. It's 5 books long, so there is a prequel as well before A Bond of Venom and Magic, which you don't have to read, but it gives away a few secrets, shall we say that one. A Bond of Venom and Magic itself, I suppose it's good for people who like A Court of Thorns and Roses, but with dragons, of course. You've got to have dragons, love the dragons. It's about a 17-year-old girl who's been brought up in a little village away from the main sort of community of Fae. She's a little bit innocent, got to have room to grow for her growth throughout the series. She escapes an attack on her home, and while she's escaping and fighting these horrible beasts that come for her, she meets a Fey warrior who they get very close, and the romance is kind of between them. Obviously, there's a little bit of angst, shall we say. He serves the Fey Queen, and he's not free to go after Diamond at all. But there is a bigger backstory where we find out where Diamond's magic appears from and what the dragons have got to do with the story. So, yeah, you find out a little bit in the first book, and then obviously it progresses through the series, and the characters grow. What can I say?
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the dragons because I know my fans happen to be big fantasy fans as well. And dragons tend to be a really big thing that we like to chat about behind the scenes. I don't really write much of dragons, but we love to have conversations about dragons. So tell me everything I need to know about your dragons.
Well, I can't tell you everything because there are some secrets about the dragons that I can't reveal right now, as in where they come from. But the dragons in this story, the main ones that you know about are guardians, and they're guardians of the gods and goddesses. So they're there to protect the gods and goddesses. They aren't on the mortal world, which is where Diamond and her warrior are, Hugo. But they get there eventually. There's a little bit of interaction. There is. I don't want to give too much away. How do I answer this? Okay, without giving too much away. Let's just say that they live with God. The guardians live with the gods and goddesses at the moment, but oh, I'm trying to explain more without giving any secrets away.
Well, answer me this, because I this is part that I'm really excited about. What do these dragons look like? Because I am all about the visuals for this. So are they a specific color? Do they have multiple colors? Or what's the deal with that?
Okay, so it depends. There are different sorts of dragons, the guardians. Some of them have wings, some of them don't. They're more like serpents, I suppose you'd call them. Some of them have eyes, some of them don't. Some of them are armored, so their scales are metal, armored, gold, silver, that sort of thing. Some of them breathe fire, some of them don't. Um, again, it's really hard to answer without giving too much away, really. Some of them are permanently dragons, some of them aren't.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I think I've done some description in the series. Some of them have horns on their heads that are metallic, but I've left a little bit up to the imagination too, because I think that's the sort of thing that fantasy readers like. They like to make things up in your head. There's too many pictures, too much description. I think it spoils it a little bit. You want to be able to make a bit up yourself as a reader.
And I think that's really cool, especially with fantasy books, because it really is very dependent on the world building because it's not something that we necessarily run into in everyday life. And so the fact that you kind of give enough for them to create bits and pieces of their own world within your world, I think that's really awesome. And the fact that you do that and do that so well, I'm just really excited about that. And speaking of things that I know you've done really, really well, I want to talk just a little bit about the queen in your book, because I know when I was doing a little bit of research, she was somebody that got my attention. So I know you can't tell us everything, but give us just a tiny little taste of who she is, maybe, and if we should love her or fear her.
Fear her, definitely. In the prequel, it explains a lot about where the queen came from and how she came to be the queen. Um, so she is generally a bad person. She's not very nice at all. She's one of those characters you love to hate, really. Um, many people have requested she has a very horrible death. I might go down that route. I might not. Who knows? I've written her storyline, so I know what happens. But yeah, she's not someone you're ever going to like. Let's put it that way.
So there's no redemption here.
No redemption. No, not.
That's fantastic. I definitely, when I was doing my research, she really drew me in, and I wanted to know so much more about her. And so I kind of like that she is just evil through and through. And I love that you have that prequel that kind of dives into her story. And for those of you who follow me, we just did an episode on novellas as part of Young Adults Edition, our weekly Monday shows. And so I love that you brought up novellas, and that is something that fans love so much. Have you found that that is something that your fans just absolutely eat up within your particular series?
No, I mean, the prequel isn't actually a novella. It's a full length. It's about
Oh, is it?
95,000 words or something.
Okay.
So it's a full length book. So I can't really comment on the novella side of things, to be honest. I think those that have read the prequel really like it, and because it does explain quite a lot of where the queen came from, how she came to be in power, and who some of the other characters are as we meet them in the series as well. So it's set actually 1,000 years before the book one, but some of the characters are immortal, so they appear in the series, and they're quite fundamental to the rest of the series as well. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's interested in reading A Bond of Destiny and Dragons, it is, you get it free if you sign up to my newsletter. There you go.
There you go, guys. There you go. We'll give you all the information on that toward the end of today's interview. If you are here with us live and you have questions, we want to hear from you. Jump down to those comments below and let us know what you want answered. And if you're on our replay, we would love to hear from you too. We will be taking a look at those comments, and we will be interacting with you within the comments. So feel free to leave us a little bit of comment love with your questions and your comments down below. If you're on our rebroadcast here on Facebook or over on YouTube or on our blog, let us know, because we would love to hear from you. Even if it's a week out, a month out, whenever it is, we want to hear from you guys. We will be here to interact with you. Now, if you are loving this, if you are having so much fun with this, do us a favor. We want you to jump down and hit the share button. When you hit the share button, that tells Facebook that we are doing something right, we're doing a really good job, and that they should be showing this video to more of our fans. And so when we get that extended reach, because you helped us out by hitting that share button, we are able to do more author interviews, more fun events, and we're able to coerce people like Karen to come hang out with us and give us all the secrets about their books. So help a girl out. Hit the share button now. Karen, I want to switch gears just a little bit. I want to talk about your writing. So how long have you been an author?
Oh, Oh, well, I released the first book in 2016. So since 2016, I suppose. The first book, though, because it was my first one, it took me a while to write it. So it originally started off as a bedtime story with me and my girls. We made up unicorns and fairies and all the rest of it. And that progressed over months. We must have been doing that for ages. And as they got a little bit older, we said, oh, we could write this down. So then I thought, oh, yeah, I could write it down, but maybe not unicorns and fairies. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more grown up. Then by the time I finished it, they'll be old enough to read it. So that's where it started. My first draft was 250,000 words
Ooh.
long.
Oh my.
So I needed editing rather a lot. And I got most of the second book out of that as well. But I just changed some of the storyline a little bit on that. So yeah, that was an interesting learning curve. But it's all a learning curve. It's
It
fun.
is, isn't it? Now, you mentioned that this started out as a story for your daughters. Now that it is out there in the world, how are they feeling about this?
Oh, they love it. They love it. They've got a couple of copies over in their school library, so they're happy. Yeah, they keep asking me about what's going to happen, but I don't think they've actually read it yet. They're only 12, so actually it's a little bit old for them yet. It gets a little bit sexy in parts. So
Yeah.
they're getting there. They're getting there, but they're not quite there yet with that.
So I have to ask, is this something that you kind of did on your own, or did you kind of keep them informed as you were writing? Do they kind of have an idea of the stuff that they haven't actually read yet, but they have a general idea of where it's going toward the end, or top secret?
We talk a little bit about where he's going towards the end. They do ask, but it's very difficult because they've not read the beginning of it. They don't really understand what I'm talking about, so I have to explain it. It's very time consuming. Yeah.
Now, how many total books do you have in this series?
So five in total. So
Okay.
actual book four will be the final one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have
Fantastic.
written it. It is done. First draft. I'm just going through first edits of it. I'm fairly happy with it, to be honest. Yeah.
That's
I
good.
just need
That's
to.
fantastic. I like it when books cooperate and then the editing isn't so hard.
Well, it took me actually. I don't know whether it's because I didn't want to finish the story, but it's taken me a while to write the last book because I don't know. Maybe I'm just attached to my characters and I don't want to stop writing about them. Maybe I don't know. Maybe.
Honestly, I have the same issue when I'm wrapping up series. It's much more difficult, I think.
Yeah, I know where I want them to be, but getting them there, you know.
Yep. Yeah, and I definitely feel like part of that is hesitance because you don't want to say goodbye and all of that.
That's what it is, really.
Yeah.
But I've got other books planned in that world, so that's fine.
Oh, well, that's exciting. I was actually just about to ask you, do you have a plan for once you're finished with this fourth book? Do you know where you're going? Are you doing spin-offs or are you doing something else? Or is it one of those figure it out when you get there?
Well, I've got four series in my head that I want to write, but I've also got the spin-offs for some of the characters that are in the books that I really like, and I think, well, yeah, okay, I want to write about you a bit more. So I've got a plan, but I've just got to choose between a sci-fi and dystopian and another fantasy series. So I'm going to do a story plan for both, and then decide where I'm going to go with it.
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, if you hang out with me, you know I'm a big fan of dystopian, so my vote. But hey, if you're here with us or if you're on the replay, cast your vote below. We want to hear from you. Which would you like to see next? It's not your choice, but you do get to voice your opinion here. So let us know. What do you want to see next? Okay. So, jumping back into the world of being an author, I want to know kind of what does your writing process look like? Do you have set hours that you do this, or do you just kind of do it when you can do it?
Yeah, I really do fit it in around life. I work full time, so I have two children. I have a dog. I have a husband. So time is short. I suppose mainly I write in the evening. So coming from work, I get all the life stuff done, dinner, cleaning up, taking the dog out, all that sort of thing. Um, I suppose so. Generally, I don't sit down till about 9 o'clock. I'm writing from 9 till kind of midnight usually. By that time, I'm really tired, so I have to stop. But I also write, I get a little bit of lunchtime at work, and I take myself away from the office and I go and write somewhere. So that actually helps. I write on the bus to work in the morning because I walk and then take public transport up to work. So I do that. I fit it in wherever I can, to be honest. And then once the first draft's done, then I can see if it makes any sense.
There you go.
Keep stopping, it interrupts the story flow sometimes. So yeah, when
Yeah.
I reread it, I think, what did I mean there? Rewrite that.
It's always fun when you have to stop at some point and then figure out what you were doing and where you actually meant to go. I've definitely experienced that a couple of times, but it's always
Definitely.
interesting to kind of see the spin you can put on it when you figure out what you meant to do.
Go with it. Let's see where you end up.
Now, was telling stories something you always wanted to do, or did that kind of stem from your time with your daughters?
No, I always wanted to do it. I loved reading. When I was younger, I'd read anything, and I mean anything. My mum had Mills and Boon's book around the house. I'd read my dad's, Wilbur Smith, James Bond. I'd read anything, and that was from being about 11 or 12. So I'd read anything that was there. So I always wanted to write. I tried a few years ago, but I was working shifts then because I'm a nurse by background, and it didn't really work out. I couldn't get that flow. And then I had a family, and time was short. Um, my job moved from shifts to working in education, so I have regular hours. So it's easier to write now. So I thought, why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah. So you're a nurse. Does that ever play into your writing? Does that ever affect how some of your characters react to certain things? Is there
Yeah,
any health related stuff in there?
absolutely. I mean, any life experience is useful, isn't it? So you can put that into your writing. I've done karate for many, many years, so I find that helps me with my fight scenes because I can play them out in my head, see what to do. So some people will say, "Well, I don't understand the fight scenes," and I'm thinking that's because you don't really fight. So yeah, that helps. Yeah, so yeah, they do help. Life experience helps.
I absolutely agree with that. And I love that you actually get to implement so much of that into your writing as well, especially with those fight scenes, which, I mean, everybody loves some good fight scene, right?
Yeah, fun.
So I have to ask before we wrap this up, and guys, we are getting to the end of our time. So if you have questions, if you have comments, now's a great time to pop those in. But I do have to ask, um, and I forgot my question because I was telling people to pop things in. Yes, if you were dropped into your own book, do you kind of think you would be able to survive, or would that be like a no go?
Oh yeah, that's fine. I
Yeah,
don't know how without magic, but I would. Yeah, yeah.
fantastic.
A nice warrior to look after me.
There you go. That works. All right. So as we are wrapping this up, before we go, I do always like to try to touch on what advice you have for budding writers. So people who are aspiring to do what you do, what can you say to give them a little encouragement?
Don't give up. It's hard work. It's very hard work, but you have to be determined. What I would say is do your research before you release a book because I wish I'd done more research on launch plans and that sort of thing. So, yeah, join Facebook groups, do your research. If you're being self published, look at what others are doing and what's working for them first. Don't be in a rush to do it. And I was, and I wish I hadn't been. There you go. But you live and learn.
And then you use your experience to teach others. So
Yeah.
there we go. All right, Karen. Thank you so much for coming on today. I do appreciate you being here. Let everybody know where they can find you, your website, and your social media.
Okay, so my website is www.k.m.robinson.com. So you can join up to my newsletter, etc. on there. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, it's at KY Tomlinson. I have a Facebook group which is called Karen Tomlinson Silver Guardians. Feel free to join in if you want to. And I'm also on Instagram, which is Karen Tomlinson Author.
Fantastic. And thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here today. I'm k.m. Robinson, and I am doing all of these amazing author interviews. And if you have an author you would love to see on these interviews with me, go ahead and tag them in a comment below so that they know you want to see them here and so that I can connect with them and hopefully get them on camera too. Or jump over to the blog interviews. And speaking of which, we've got a great one with Karen. It's going to be released in the next few days because we're trying to space all this stuff out because we have so much goodness with all of these interviews going on right now. We are spacing them out just a little bit. So we want you to check that out, blog.k.m.robinsonbooks.com. Brand new questions that were not asked here on the live. So these are things that you did not see here with answers you did not get here. So you're going to have to check it out as soon as that goes live in the next few days. I'm super excited about it. I know you guys are too. We want to hear from you. So if you have questions, if you have comments, go ahead and let us know below. And as always, you can come hang out with me at k.m.robinsonbooks.com, where you can find world portals. You will be able to find more of these live broadcast interviews. You will be able to find all sorts of fun videos behind the scenes. It's just a lot of really great stuff over there. It's k.m.robinsonbooks.com, and you can hit me up at k.m.robinsonbooks on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Also, check out the YouTube channel for all of the replays, plus videos that were recorded for fan Q&A. There's trailers. There's all sorts of magical things over there. We would love to see you. And again, if you have an author that you want to see on air here, go ahead and let me know. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to connect with your author friends and the people you are big fans of. So tag them below so that they know you want them to come on the show, and we will see what we can do for you. Make sure you join me tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be interviewing author Amber R. Duell. She wrote Fragile Chaos, and we are going to have a ton of fun because she has written some stuff that has broken our hearts a little bit, and we are going to harass her live on air. So we would love for you to come join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. right here on facebook.com/k.m.robinsonbooks. And make sure you follow the page because we are doing almost daily. It's several times a week live broadcasts between all these different interviews and unboxings and fun things right here on the channel. But we also have our Monday shows, Young Adult Edition, where we have new authors on every single week. We talk about different book world topics. We bring you book world news and new releases. It's fun. It's fabulous. We've got some great stuff planned in the next couple of weeks, and we would love to have you guys join us. In fact, on Monday, we're talking book to movie adaptations. It's going to be lots of fun. We just talked about novellas. We've got all sorts of fabulous things going on. So join me Monday, 10 a.m. right here on facebook.com/k.m.robinsonbooks. Thank you guys for joining us. You have a fantastic day and stay inspired. Bye-bye.